Hey guys, it's Michelle with Adventure Mentality, and in today's video, I'm going to take you along on a road trip we did back in the good old days of 2019. We started the road trip in St. Louis and headed down to Amarillo, Texas for our first stop. The road trip did not start off as expected. We were hoping to leave a little bit earlier, but because we were waiting for a shipment from UPS, we ended up not leaving until around 6 p.m. We ended up driving through the night and stopping at a rest area to sleep for a little while in the very early morning hours. After getting some rest and getting out to stretch our legs, we got back on the road and headed to our first stop in Amarillo, Texas. Cadillac Ranch is a public art installation and sculpture found a little west of Amarillo, Texas. It was created in 1974 by the art group Ant Farm, and it shows the evolution of the Cadillac's tail fins. This is a really fun stop for anyone, but especially if you have kids, because you are encouraged to unleash your inner artist. There are places in the area where you can buy your own spray paint, or you can do like we did and just go to the location and find some half-empty spray paint cans and go to town on these Cadillacs. This was a really fun stop. My kids really enjoyed it, and it was just a quick little way to get out and stretch our legs and see some iconic American relics from the past. After our stop at the Cadillac Ranch, we made our way west and finally hit New Mexico. We originally did not have anything planned for New Mexico, and I honestly don't even remember how we ended up stopping at the Blue Hole. It could have been advertising on the side of the road, but we ended up stopping close to Santa Rosa to check out this cool little swimming hole. But is it super cold?
Yes!
So, however we ended up stopping here, I'm really glad that we did. It was a really cool experience. We weren't really prepared for swimming along the way, and so our bathing suits were actually up in the topper. But after stopping and seeing it, I knew that I definitely wanted to jump off the rocks, even though I have a really big fear of deep water. And this water goes down 80 feet, and you can see all the way to the bottom because the water is so clear. And because the water is only 61 degrees and stays that way all year round, it was very cold and refreshing, but I would definitely do it again. After traveling all across New Mexico, we finally made it to Arizona. One of the main stops we wanted to see when we were in Arizona was the Petrified Forest National Park. There are some nods to the old Route 66 with some old cars that you can see. If you time it right, you can also see trains going through the desert. It's really neat to stop and watch because it feels like you can see for miles and miles. And of course, my kids just loved playing with the rocks and sand. But one of the biggest draws for the Petrified Forest National Park are the fossilized trees that were around during the dinosaur times. This is also the area of the Painted Desert where you will see lots of different rock formations that have various different colors. I definitely wish we had more time to spend in this area, but sometimes you just can't help when things are out of your control. So we definitely made the most of it. And it was definitely a good way for our kids to kind of get out and be able to move around instead of being cooped up in the car all night and then all day again. The small town of Holbrook, close to the national park, has a really cool hotel that is reminiscent of the Cozy Cone Motel in the Cars the movie, so we definitely wanted to stop and take a look at that as well.
What are they doing? Are they swimming?
We finally made it into Phoenix really late, and went straight to bed. When I was looking for Airbnbs, I definitely knew that I wanted a pool because it's Arizona in the summer and it was definitely going to be hot. And I wanted to make sure that we had something fun that we could do right at the Airbnb. This house was definitely perfect for us.
Okay. Hello, I'm going to come down and get a ring. It's not too deep. This is the deep end of the pool. I'm swimming. And here we go.
Good job.
Hey, Bob.
Yep.
Can you get me some different kind of goggles?
I always recommend using vacation rentals if possible when you're traveling with a bigger family or even an extended family, just because you have more space and it's a little more private and it feels a little bit more relaxing, like a home away from home. One of the fun things that we did while we were in Phoenix was to go ice skating. And I know this is an activity that you can do anywhere, but I feel like when you're traveling with kids, it's important to do activities that interest them. Our middle son was really into ice skating, so we decided to meet up with some friends in Phoenix and just hit the ice. Even though it was summertime in Phoenix, we definitely wanted to do some things outside as well. So we decided one morning we would go on a short hike that would be good for the kids. We decided to go to a place called Papago Park. It's really close to the Phoenix Zoo. It's got a bunch of different short trails and hikes that you can take in the area. There's lots of rock formations. And my favorite part was probably seeing all of the amazing cactus plants that were all over the place. Another part we love about traveling is finding and enjoying yummy food that we don't generally get to have when we're at home. And of course, we love to stop and see temples wherever we travel to as well. However, my favorite part of the trip was watching my husband reminisce about a place where he grew up and hadn't been back to in many, many years.
Levi, you better put your seatbelt on.
Nước mình nó được cho mấy xe mà nước trang bắt nước màu nước
Farmers, it's hard to find water.
mình bát màu
Does Daddy live somewhere close near us?
Yep. There's your
What
house.
happened to his house?
mà tên
Where's his house?
It was right here.
Oh,
There was his house. It's not there anymore.
So we went to find one of his old houses and it wasn't there anymore. We think that it had burned down and they just never rebuilt it. But it was still fun to watch him walk around the foundation and lay out the structure of the house and talk to the kids about a place that he had once lived. It was definitely a good experience for him and for our kids to be able to see where their dad grew up. We also saw a lot of old neighbors and old friends who we hadn't seen in a really long time. So the trip to Phoenix was definitely a memorable one. After spending a couple days in Phoenix, we headed north to our next Airbnb in Flagstaff. On the way, we made a couple of stops. The first one was a ghost town in Jerome, Arizona. So when I think of a ghost town, my mind conjures up an Old West movie with cowboys and saloons, but Jerome was definitely not what I had pictured in my mind as a ghost town. And I think it's because it has some more recent historical elements instead of just what I had pictured in my mind. So for instance, there are newer trucks sitting around and newer cars and newer types of machinery, but it was definitely worth the stop to be able to see all of the history there. Next, we stopped at Montezuma's Castle, which is a national monument you'll find in Arizona. It's dedicated to preserving Native American architecture, and it definitely shows some of the ingenuity some of the earliest people in our country had. And finally, after a long day, we made it to our cabin in Flagstaff, Arizona.
What is that?
Wow. Jinx! Can't talk to my birthday. We made
And it's got a little path.
Yep. So this side is going to go in. This side is going to go out. On the square over there, on this side of the tree is an entrance. That side of the tree is that.
We definitely enjoyed staying in this cabin in Flagstaff. It was in the middle of nowhere. We didn't have a lot of cell service, but we definitely took the time to unplug and just hang out and enjoy each other. And it was definitely one of our favorite parts of this trip. We took the time to do some short hikes, and even though it might not seem like it from the next clip, we definitely all enjoyed ourselves.
Come on. It is funny. It's hilarious. A little whiny butt. Come on.